The Eagles are going to the Super Bowl. The Eagles are going to the Super Bowl. The Eagles are going to the Super Bowl. I don't know. We'll probably talk about it. Rich Hofmann, Zach Berman in studio next on the PHLY Eagles podcast. The Eagles, they're going to the Super Bowl. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles podcast on a Wednesday afternoon. Bo Wulf, Rich Hofmann, Zach Berman, and it's presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Rich, the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl. How you feeling?
I'm doing great, Bo. They are going to the Super Bowl. It's always weird this week. You know, you come down off the high,
a little anticlimactic
of the NFC Championship game, and you know the Eagles they're going to Flyers games, they're going to Sixers games. It's like a week off, but still very excited.
Plenty to talk about. We're going to sort of go through our favorite potential storylines of this matchup. There is some news on the Eagles front, but Zach, how are you holding up this week? We haven't talked to enough Eagles, I think, for your liking yet.
I'm well. I'm excited for the show. I'm excited for our coverage during the next week and a half and beyond that too. But yeah, I'm kind of locked in. I have a lot of ideas. I have a lot of opinions. And the good thing is we have no shortage of places to talk and write about them.
What did Nicholas Sirianni say yesterday?
So Nick Sirianni was not giving any details about the team's planning this week, about what the team's schedule is. Now, they're off today. And my understanding or my guess is that they'll practice on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So Thursday, Friday, and Saturday will mimic what a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is during the season. They will put in a lot of their game plan this week. Nick Sirianni would not give what the percentage is, but based on history, you typically have most of the work done this week. This is the week that I've heard players say this. This is the week you win or lose the Super Bowl often, is the week planning.
See, to me, it's what happens in the game is when you win or lose.
Well, that too.
Say that.
Yeah. Going out on a limb there, huh?
That's just my opinion.
Yeah. But a few cool nuggets from Nick Sirianni that I enjoyed listening to. One being the play at the goal line that Washington was outraged about, Frankie Louvu timing the jump, and that was part of Washington's plan, and that Scott Hockley said they can award the touchdown, and fans hadn't heard of this rule, and Nick Sirianni was asked if he had heard of it, and the answer is yes, because when he was with the Chargers, the person who's now the game manager, or who last year was the game management coach for the Jets, they were having a conversation, and Nick asked a question along the lines of
Flash.
Yes,
right.
He does have a name. I can tell you his exact name.
Let's just go with Flash.
Okay.
And speaking of Flash, Zach, it's your turn to flash the audience.
No, it's not. I was responding to some things about Friday's show, or I'm sorry, Sunday's show. So in any event, Dan, his name's Dan Shamish. And he was in charge of game management with the Jets last year. And Nick was asking, or Nick was speaking to him about, what if it's like toward the end of the game, you're at the 1 yard line, could the defense just hold the receiver on every play, right? Which makes sense. And he was told that they can award a touchdown. And Nick's like, no way. That can't happen. The guy's like, yeah, that's the rule. So after this game, Nick actually texted Smash.
Smash.
About that.
That
like,
changes things.
Like, hey, you were right.
I'm not going to ask you to smash on camera.
Okay. Please don't. So that was interesting. I also thought, and this actually came up in your question, I believe, that they watched every Peanut Tillman Oh, no, this was to Ruben's question, I think, about forcing turnovers.
Yes.
They watched every peanut punch that Charles Tillman had. They put a reel together of all the peanut punches in his career. The coaches watched it and the players watched it, and you see it come to fruition in the game. I thought that was pretty interesting insight. Peanut Tillman appreciated that when that was put out there on social media.
There you go.
He's like secretly one of the most influential players in football over the past 20 years.
Yeah, I was getting messages he should be in the Hall of Fame. Is he Hall of Fame caliber?
I don't know, but maybe just because of how influential his playing style was.
Sure.
He should.
I mean, Morton Anderson's in, so really, what's the bar?
Well, we'll see about Eric Allen next week. Eric Allen could be the Eagle into the Hall of Fame during Super Bowl week.
There you go. All right. Because we have not talked to the players, we are going to still do our locker room report, but we're going to do it with the coaching staff, Zach.
Yes.
And this is our locker room report presented by Valley Forge. ValleyForge.org can help you discover hidden gems, endless activities, and tons of places to stay in Montco. Get started planning that next getaway today. ValleyForge.org. Make it family time and make it Montco. And Zach, we get you get the national reporters, and someone's a leader for this job. It's trending this direction. Looks like without any snags, it might go this way. And that is that the Eagles may be losing another offensive coordinator.
Yes. So it came out last night that Mike McCarthy is taking himself out of running for a job, for the Saints job.
So do we know if it was McCarthy taking himself out or the Saints said no?
It could have been
That's
that.
a very important
Probably,
detail.
it's a little
It
bit.
could have been that.
Yeah, it's a little bit. That was more the effect than the cause.
Sure.
Yes.
So on Monday night, the Saints came in to South Jersey, Philly, to meet with Kellen Moore. And that meeting went into Tuesday morning.
Must have been one hell of a night.
as Bo is want to remind us. Now
Moore,
there are three.
You dirty dog.
And then it also came out yesterday that Cliff Kingsbury's not pursuing jobs this year either. And there was thought that Kingsbury could be a stealth candidate for the Saints job. So there are three remaining candidates unless they reset their search. That's Kellen Moore, Anthony Weaver, and Mike Kafka. If they wanted to hire Anthony Weaver and Mike Kafka now, they could. Neither one's been hired. It really seems, if you're reading the tea leaves, this is Kellen Moore's job. So there are...
and the reports are the things that they've been enamored with are his stamina and his eagerness to please.
I have not heard those reports, no.
He didn't miss a fourth grade basketball game for that one.
I did not hear those reports.
Oh, okay.
But Kellen Moore, in 1 year here, I would say it's been a polarizing year. This hasn't necessarily been the offense that was expected when he came in. I did think, and we can talk about this, I thought he had his best game on Sunday in the conference championship. But Kellen Moore is someone who we spoke about before he got here as he might not be here for long. And I think I said before the season that Kellen Moore is going to be here for 1 year because I said if they win, he's going to get a job, or if he does well, they're going to get a job. And if they lose, the Eagles he's going to get fired. And
I objected to that framing.
Yeah. Well, I did not see a scenario where the Eagles had the number one defense in the NFL.
Exactly.
I thought if the Eagles were really good, it was because they had this top 5 offense. Right. Kellen Moore fixed Jalen Hurts, so the sequence of the year did not go the way I thought. I could still get to the same end result.
Yeah.
But anyway, so what does this mean for Eagles fans? Well, a few things. I know Deniz and people have put together the parallels to Jonathan Gannon that he gets hired by the host city. Number one, the Eagles would have to give Jalen Hurts his 4th offensive coordinator in 4 years. Also, as we talked about 2 years ago, even if the Eagles have a plan in place, and that could be the fundamental difference here between him and Gannon, you're working with a limited pool of candidates relative to if you're hiring an offensive coordinator 1 week into the playoffs like they did last year.
Right.
So you're missing out on all the quote-unquote hot coordinators, and you're either going for someone who is out of work or a college coach, typically.
Or in-house.
Or in-house.
How do you think that would? What do you think? What do you think they would do?
So, if you're looking for the in-house candidate would be Kevin Patullo, who I know they were interested in potentially promoting 2 years ago. Brian Johnson was the natural successor for that job. last year they couldn't promote in-house after dismissing Brian Johnson, but Kevin Patullo is Nick Sirianni's right-hand man, and he has a lot to do behind the scenes, but he also has not been he's not been an offensive coordinator in the NFL, right? So if the offensive coordinator experience matters, then that's something to keep in mind. If you're looking for the out-of-work coach, I know a lot of people look for Frank Reich, who has experience with Nick Sirianni, who has who's well regarded in the building. And the other thing is Frank Reich has the Vic Fangio quality, where you're probably not worried about losing him. If you want some degree of continuity, I don't think Frank Reich's leaving for a head coaching job, right? But I don't know if Frank would have interest in the job, and I don't know if the Eagles would have interest in Frank for that job.
There is such an ageism
Doug Peterson
baked into the There is such an ageism baked into the head coaching hire. Are there any old offensive coordinators anymore? That's why Frank Reich appeals to me. Just because, like, Vic Fangio and Steve Spagnuolo, that's the guy you want, right? The guy who's already failed as a head coach and who's a defensive guy, because those guys don't even get a sniff at the head coaching jobs.
Yeah,
despite dominating.
That's the funny framing, right? Is you want like an 85-year-old grizzled defensive coordinator, and you want a 19-year-old just like pipsqueak offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Now, and I have said this, and I've said this on a number of occasions, and Bo and I have had interesting back and forths about this. I would talk to Jeff Stoutland for the job. But as Bo's pointed out, if it doesn't work, then you just lost the best offensive line coach in the league, right?
Yeah, that's an interesting one though. I'm trying to think of the guys who were fired this cycle. If there's anybody interesting there, guys who lost jobs. I don't think Press Taylor's walking through that door.
Do you think it depends on if they win or lose? Like, does Nick have more juice to get Patullo in the job?
Yeah,
if
see,
they
that's
win?
the thing is that like it would be really hard for me to think that the Eagles watched the way that this season played out, and then would want Nick to be more involved in the offense.
Well, that and you do wonder, like, if it's the internal promotion, especially a loyal Nick lieutenant, does he go back to being Nick's offense? Right. That is a fair question. I know there are people talking about Bobby Slowick, who is out of work. Now, that's a different type of scheme, number one. And number two, and we saw this with the Kingsbury conversation last year, you want to preserve what makes Jeff Stoutland great. You want to preserve the Eagles' run game concepts, which is another interesting thing about Frank Reich, is worked with Jeff Stoutland, has that background with Jeff Stoutland as well. But if you just, you could in theory look at quarterback coaches.
I know that you know this well. You're the perfect person to have on because it's all in that big old encyclopedia of yours. Who are the people who the Eagles have already interviewed for offensive coordinator over the last two cycles who are potentially out there?
Yeah, so I apologize on his name.
Nate Skeelhouse.
Thank you. Is that what it is, Skeelhouse?
I believe so.
All right, well, I can say Skeelhouse. I was going to say Nate S. Nate S.
The Nates.
From Iowa State, who was kind of like viewed as like the I don't like this framing, like the Rooney Rule hire.
They framed him as a Rooney Rule.
Yeah, it's like the Rooney Rule hire. But he got hired by the Rams. Yes. He's worked under McVay. He comes from that Matt Campbell tree, which who Sirianni obviously knows well. So that's a name you might hear. As far as other guys who the Eagles talked to in the past, I mean, last year was really Kingsbury, Moore. Who else? Gerard Johnson, who's the quarterback's coach with the Texans.
They haven't made a
coordinator hire. He did interview for that job. Now he could also. I've heard Chip Kelly rumblings there as well.
Oh my God,
that would be. I really would lose. D'Amico would become much less attractive in my mind.
I mean, Chip Kelly has a lot of respect for D'Amico Ryans, and I know that for sure.
I feel like you were there for that.
I was.
Scott Turner,
correct.
So are we assuming?
Did they interview Scott Turner last year?
No, I'm just saying names.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
We're also assuming Doug Nussmeier is a package.
So my guess is Doug Nussmeier follows. He would follow Kellen Moore to New Orleans. First off, they've worked together, going back a long way. They followed each other place to place. Personally, for Doug Nussmeier, he would be an hour from his son, who's the starting quarterback at LSU next year, if he's the OC with the Saints. So I would expect Doug Nussmeier to follow Kellen Moore.
Isn't the best offensive coordinator in football available potentially?
Who are you referring
Coobs, Clint Kubiak, those first 2 weeks.
No,
the
Clint
greatest
Kubiak,
show on turf.
Clint Kubiak got hired by Seattle.
Oh.
Actually, the guy who I would be
Smart
interested
hire
in.
by them.
I'm pro Shio Kapadia here with this. I like Ryan Grubb. I watched some of Seattle's
I like
offense
Ryan
this year,
Yeah, I like him
and
too.
I didn't think like he was problematic when I saw when I read the reports about why he was fired. It was because he was too aggressive. He didn't run the ball enough.
They
When
were
they had
super
leads.
pass heavy, right?
Feels like honestly a good pairing with Stout. Like
Yeah,
if,
exactly.
If there's someone else you can trust with the running game, and you're looking for someone to just scheme up some cool stuff in
Sure.
the passing game, yeah, that sounds good to me.
Yeah. So you think about that.
G.J. Kinney.
Josh McCown.
DJ Kane just got a big deal, but yeah, Josh McCown. You could look at the college ranks.
Yeah,
I do think they would be interested in established play calling. You know, in someone who has experience calling plays is my guess. I wonder how much they would pay attention to continuity. Last year was kind of, for lack of a better term, like an all hands on deck situation. You were trying to keep your job. You wanted the best coordinator possible. If you make the Super Bowl or you win the Super Bowl, there's a degree of clout that we just said Nick Sirianni has, that maybe you're not just going for the guy. You could look for more of the up and coming hire. I don't know the direction they would go. It's interesting.
I just love the idea of Nussmeier with all those things you said, Zach, that he's worked with Kellen Moore for forever. They're very good friends. His son is playing at LSU. It's right down the road. He looks at it, and then he looks at Derek Carr versus this Eagles offense and says, I'm good. I think I'll take the job here.
Yeah, he's only going to be there one more year, my son. Like who knows where he's going to go in the NFL?
True.
Yeah, it's interesting, and also that means that potentially having to find a new quarterbacks coach as well.
Coach, yeah.
So that would be tough. All right, good update there on the locker room report. Good value for the good folks at Valley Forge. Full Kellen Moore discussion, nicely done. And of course, go to valleyforge.org to find out more information. Some super chats to discuss. Grace Min, is it at all worrisome that Kellen has his mind on the potential new gig, a Gannon or Ben Johnson situation? What do you think, Rich? How do you feel about this dynamic?
I don't like the parallels, but I also think it's the way of the world. And it's I think, as Zach will probably say in a second here, there are differences in that the Eagles are going to be more prepared to replace Kellen Moore versus Johnny Gantz. Now, there won't be a surprise, what was it, a third-round pick that just showed up on draft night?
Yeah.
Wow, what an update that was. Yeah. I mean, losing the Super Bowl versus that, I don't know. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I am a little bit worried about it. I mean, the parallels of like the offense, the coordinator who has not been all that inspiring for most of the year is about to take the job.
Who has feasted on particularly bad competition, as Dennis has reminded us.
Is about to take the not so not so great job in the host city of the Super Bowl. Yeah, it does worry me a little bit. I know some of those things don't actually matter to like play calling and preparation and things like that. But yeah, it does worry me a little bit.
I have to be careful here because, as a commenter said, you know, Z Berm or ZB defending Josh Harris and Jonathan Gannon, how tone deaf could he be, or something like that. Like I don't.
Guys whose first name begin with J.
I don't want to pander to the crowd. I do want to give my honest viewpoint, though. Again, I'm not defending Jonathan Gannon here. I don't think Jonathan Gannon was distracted for that Super Bowl. We can talk about the game plan here. I mean, if I'm being honest with you, Shane Steichen had more conversations leading up to the Super Bowl about his head coaching job than Jonathan Gannon has his. Where Jonathan Gannon was in the wrong, where it screwed the Eagles over, and I've said this and I stand by this, is that the Eagles were in the dark on it up until like the weekend before, in that when Jonathan Gannon was interviewing for the Texans job, Vic Fangio was kind of waiting there to be the Eagles offensive coordinator. The Eagles defensive coordinator. When Gannon did not get the Texans job and he thought he was coming back, then Fangio accepted that job. Had the Eagles known the Cardinals were a possibility earlier on in the process, then I doubt Vic Fangio takes that Dolphins job when he does. As a matter of fact, you saw reports out of Miami that one of the gripes they had of him is that his mind was in another place, that he wished he coached somewhere else last year, right? Fangio's been on record saying if he had known Gannon, you know, he would have come here. So I think what screwed up the Gannon, I don't think Gannon I don't think his mind was elsewhere for that Super Bowl. I don't think Ben Johnson's mind was elsewhere for the Lions game like Ben Johnson was getting a job no matter what.
It's impossible to say. Like, I don't think that intentionally anybody is like trying less hard to win
Sure.
or anything like that. But of course, your mind is going to wander a little bit. I don't think in game, I think you're probably pretty laser focused. But I don't know. It's possible. It's possible. You know, Nick likes to talk about they're grinding every hour, watching every bit of tape. I don't know. There are only so many hours in the day. I'm not saying it's the reason that they lost. I'm not saying he didn't do what he does every week. I'm just saying it is human nature that if you're thinking about something else, you're not thinking about something else.
I can go in my archives and look at my last week writing for The Athletic. I wrote 3 damn good stories that week. I can go to the archives writing. My Jalen Hurts profile that week.
Nobody has the focus.
My Jalen Hurts profile that week was awesome. I can go back to my last week. I can go back to my last week.
When you're proud of yourself.
Yeah, I can go to my last week at the Inquirer. Now, that was June. It was a little different, but yeah,
but you already had those jobs lined up.
What's that?
You already had those jobs lined up.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, my mind wasn't wandering.
Because you knew where you were going.
Yeah, I'm saying Ben Johnson knew where he was going.
Okay.
Gannon knew the Arizona Cardinals hadn't hired a coach on February 3rd. They were clearly going to hire
Ben
John
Johnson
Gannon.
Also knew that if you don't win this game, whatever.
So was Shane Steichen.
If Jameson Williams throws this ball away, what am I going to do? I got somewhere to go. I'm still getting a job.
If you're like Jonathan Gannon wanted to win that Super Bowl. He's a damn competitive person. He wanted to win that Super Bowl.
Wanted to gut him.
Yeah. Kellen Moore. I don't know Kellen as well as I knew Jonathan, admittedly, but I got to think Kellen Moore wants to win this Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, no one's arguing that.
So I don't think he's distracted. But
It'd be funny if he showed up to like media day with like a Saints hat on. He's like,
it was just his underwear's on outside his pants or something like this. He's just
well, the funny thing is
shoes are on backwards.
like shopping for houses in New Orleans.
So I've covered a few of these Super Bowls where it's like the coach is in waiting, basically, like Dan Quinn with the Falcons. I remember that one. There was one, Kevin O'Connell with the Vikings, and like the local media from that city, just like they spend all 4 media sessions just like interviewing them, So
and the players about him,
yeah, exactly. So that's what it's going to like next week with all the New Orleans media there. Kellen Moore's not going to take a single Eagles question all week. Everything's going to be saying, what are your thoughts on Derek Carr's situation?
What's your favorite kind of po' boy?
Do you like po' boys?
Yeah, I like a po' boy.
From where?
New Orleans.
What restaurant? What's your favorite po' boy in New Orleans?
I don't have a Rolodex of every single place.
All right. I'll bring you to Mother's. They make a good po' boy.
Oh, I have been there, actually.
Yeah.
That's a good New Orleans accent, man.
Thank you very much.
You ever been to the French
I don't
Quarter?
know. People in New Orleans might be offended by your New Orleans accent.
Not the first time.
Yeah.
There's a lot more where that came from. We got a long week on the radio row for the Super Bowl.
Joy's gonna be sick next week just of laughing so hard from your jokes. I feel like she's your best audience here. But yeah, I love New Orleans. I have a list of places I want us to go eat in New Orleans.
Okay,
you'll have the chance.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a quick break. Back with more on the other side. And by the way, if you have questions that you want answered, we're here. Shoot them. We'll bat them around. We'll bat them around. What does that mean? Ridiculous.
I say so.
Good news is I get to talk about our friends at Valley Forge. Winter weekend getaways and family-friendly affordability await in Valley Forge and Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. We were talking about this before. Listen, next weekend, you're going to be busy. You're going to be laser-focused on the game. You're not going to be distracted by that Saints job. But this weekend, good opportunity to score some points, get some family time in. Why not do it at Valley Forge? Because Valley Forge and Montgomery County have so much to offer, like must-see historical sites, tons of family attractions, a vibrant art scene, outdoor activities, shopping, and more. Just 18 miles from downtown Pennsylvania. ValleyForge.org can help you discover hidden gems, endless activities, and tons of places to stay in Montco. Get started planning that next getaway today. ValleyForge.org. Make it family time and make it Montco.
I got a nice alert on Instagram the other day from Glatt Hair Restoration, the Morgenstern Center for Orbital and Facial Plastic Surgery, of all of us here at PHLY talking about glatt hair restoration. And I think it's important to do because this is the place to go. You should know bald is now optional. I watched John Marks' show, and I see that great head of hair he has. And John is honest that glatt hair restoration has really helped with this. And it can help you too if you're looking for a head of hair like John Marks. The name now is Glatt Hair Restoration by Morgenstern Medical, and you might want to know what makes them better. And the answer is they have the same peerless approach to care, the same expert team, the same unmatched glatt system, the same state-of-the-art location, and the same stellar results, but it's under the direction of Dr. Morgenstern, a highly respected plastic surgeon. Each member of this exceptionally trained team brings 30-plus years of industry experience. Hair restoration is all they do. Anyone could buy equipment and say they do hair restoration. Only Glatt Hair offers decades of proven results using an innovative approach and delivered by leaders of the industry. Glatt Hair can help during all stages of hair loss with leading-edge treatments for prevention and restoration, including laser light therapy, non-invasive TED treatments, vitamin supplementation, topical and oral medications, PRP and stem cell restoration, and hair restoration surgery. It's not just about restoration, it's about innovation, and I love innovation. Their breakthrough treatments really do dramatically change lives. Change your hair, change your life. Bald is now optional if you want to improve how you look and how you feel about yourself. Glatt Hair has the right treatment for you. Regain your confidence. Visit glatthairmctr.com or call 610-980-4000 to get started.
I said, let's do some super chats. What do we got? Phil Hedges, question for Bo. What was a more historic moment in Philly Commanders fans taking over the Hard Rock Cafe or Rudy Giuliani's presser at Four Seasons Landscaping?
Two great ones.
Two great ones. The only one I have to go with the only one that there was real bloodshed, and that of course was the Hard Rock, because we have to honor the fallen. Adam P says, Bo, my Josh Harris calendar came in. Thank you. This is of course the payoff for Adam P, who won last year's Sickos March Madness Challenge, and he never got his prize, and so I sent him a nice Josh Harris calendar that I made on Shutterfly. Found 12 good photos. It's going to be a good year for Adam P.
First 12 photos, right?
What's that?
They're all good photos.
Well, yeah, they're all good photos. Grace doubles down. She says, sorry, another one. Don't be sorry. Keep it coming, Grace. If BG comes back, is it at all worrisome that his conditioning might be lacking since he hasn't been playing for a while? I know they rotate, but I just think of these things at 1 a.m.
When Kellen Moore is hot and heavy with the Saints.
That's right.
Grace, I appreciate it. It was great to meet you out in LA, Grace. I'm not, look, two things here. When you have the upper body injury, you're in theory able to keep conditioned better than
True.
if you have lower body. He has been moving around. He's talked about this. You're more worried about losing strength than you are about losing conditioning. Now, football shape is different. I don't think Brandon Graham's game this year has kind of been built around. I'm not saying he's not in shape, but Brandon Graham's game is strength. Brandon Graham's game is intelligence. Brandon Graham's game is toughness. His technique. I don't think Brandon Graham's game this year has been like being the Energizer Buddy. He's not going to be taking 60 snaps.
I think if he plays, you're talking about 10, 15 snaps tops.
Yeah, and it's more of your Willis Reed type thing where Brandon Graham's back for the Super Bowl.
Right. I mean, he's taking Bryce Huff's place in the rotation and probably taking a couple snaps away from Josh Sweat and Jalen Hunt, right? Like Nolan Smith's still going to play all the time. Although it's interesting because usually BG's on that left side, which is where Nolan Smith has mostly been rushing from. So it would be an interesting, who's going to move around a little bit. But yeah, I don't think that the conditioning would be a huge issue for him.
Agreed.
If he's good to go for 10 snaps, throw him in there.
Absolutely.
Is that one of the great Philly? I don't want to say one of the great Philly stories, but like that. I mean, I'm like, we'll get to our favorite stories, but that would be so cool seeing Brandon Graham out there. Now we spoke about this, Bo and me. I'm curious your view. I'm curious your view. I think if you can play professional sports, play as long as you can. But if they won the Super Bowl, is there any better way of going out than coming back from a season-ending injury, winning the Super Bowl, right? Like that, yeah, it's hard to top that.
It's hard to top it, and The first guy I think of is the guy that Brandon Graham sacked in 2 Super Bowls ago, where he wins the Super Bowl, and it's like, what else do you want to do? And then he has I know they won the division.
Ruined
that
my
year.
family, as the answer that he had.
He had some stuff go on that I don't know if it was related. It might have been, but the team was just very uninspiring that next year. And then he was like, "All right, I guess I'll retire now." So I think in retrospect, it would have been better for him to go out on top. I mean, I would go out on top.
I did really like the framing from the doctor we spoke to the other day, just about
that was awesome.
These are like superhumans. Like, you just got to keep that in mind. By the way, did you see speaking of that, did you see the video last night of the Eagles guys talking to LeBron?
Yeah.
It's so funny how small LeBron makes AJ Brown look. Like AJ Brown is like this huge dude, like the most powerful guy on the team. And he looks like a little kid next to LeBron.
I thought it was I mean, not funny. Like you see Maxey on a basketball court and you think like, oh, he's small, right? And then he's like towering over AJ.
You made fun of me for this the other a couple years ago when I was talking about James Harden.
Yeah, well, I'm like, basketball players are tall. Like this isn't a surprise. Yeah.
Okay, so now you're saying the same thing.
No, I'm not trying to be argumentative here. That's a difference. Yeah, I mean, basketball players are tall. Have you ever been around basketball players? They're tall. They're yeah.
You're right. There was the same thing with Harden and Darius Slay.
Yeah, it was Harden and Slay.
It was really funny. I mean, LeBron was making them look like little kids, but that's the way it works.
I just think it's funny, like all these guys are alphas in their own right. Like professional football players, and Cooper DeJean goes to the Flyers game the other night, and he
would tower over those guys.
No, but I'm saying like he's riding around on the Zamboni. If Cooper DeJean went to the bar down the street right now, he'd be flooded, right? But like LeBron James there's like levels. Like LeBron James goes and says what's up to AJ, to DeVonta, and then he says big play Slay, right? But then like
and Paris Campbell,
the Ohio State, the Akron, But like there was one point where it looked like Cooper DeJean was about to take his hand.
He was looking
for anything attack. He's not.
He's like, oh,
yes, exactly. So it's like humbling. It's like, all right, like you're Philly famous, but
I'm the white guy.
Are you LeBron? No, are you LeBron famous? Yeah, so that's
meanwhile, like AJ is like he's sort of like shrinking. He's like a little bit of a wallflower. Like, oh, like can I get a picture, LeBron? Like,
well, no. So then the other thing I think about too is like these guys must get so annoyed when everyone takes out their cell phones. Like whenever they're like walking and it's like everyone has their cell phone out. But there's LeBron and like they're literally taking cell phone video of LeBron. Yeah.
See, I would have liked if LeBron went right to Big Dom, and like that's the first guy I got to dap up. Who also probably would have looked a little less small.
That's true.
I saw LeBron play when he was 16. He played against my brother, and like then he was, or my brother's team. Although my brother did get in that game, so I can say he played against my brother. But my brother's team more specifically. But then like, I mean, so I'm a year. I'm class of 2004. LeBron's class of 2003. Like you would think we weren't on the same planet. Like we wouldn't, LeBron and me, like we were 1 year apart, and like LeBron he's got like a full beard. I'm saying like I'm like looking at him like, how's he a year older than me, this guy? Yeah.
And what happened to the tape of that game?
I got the good part of the game got taped over for my sister's ballet recital.
What was the game on? Was it on CN8?
No, I was there and I taped it with a video camera.
Oh, okay.
Like and you have like my homemade commentary. Like, oh my god. And
where was it at?
It was in Akron, Ohio. It was at the gym in Akron. It was LeBron's junior year. My brothers and I should say all the good players on their team, their senior years. Not all the good players. There's good players for juniors and sophomores. My sophomore year, and I remember. It was like the coolest thing, and I'm videotaping it, and there was one at the end of the first half, he hits this fall away three, literally where that TV is, like right in front of me, and it was like an inbound play with like 3 seconds left, and so we're going back a few years later, and we're watching this back, and we're in like the third quarter. And then all of a sudden, you just see this like 6-year-old girl doing, first position or if I forget the ballet terms, pliés, is it
Plie.
plie?
LeBron going up for a dunk and then it cuts
Yeah,
right to a plie.
it cuts to a plie. But
That's good stuff.
I so wanted the one play when LeBron dunked on my brother. And I always want, and I don't have that clip anymore. Instead, I have my sister doing ballet. So
Shout out to Jenna.
shout out to Jenna. Yeah.
Good stuff. All right. Let's go a couple more super chats. Chase Daniel Plainview says, if Kellen gets the Saints job and ends up being a good head coach, would he be viewed as a Lurie creation rather than a Jerry creation? Oh, interesting. Whose tree does he come from?
The Cowboys tree.
Yeah, but the Cowboys let him go.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like when the Eagles claim credit for Andrew Berry, and like he spent a year here, you know.
Yeah, but do you get credit for like where the guy was most recently? I don't know.
Good point.
Maybe like the Chris Peterson tree. You like that?
No, okay, yeah, I like that.
I don't like giving Jerry credit for anything right now. I don't think he deserves it.
So
How about glory holes?
You get credit for that.
I've read some coverage out of Dallas that part of the reason why they wanted Schottenheimer instead of Kellen Moore is like Schottenheimer has like this like command of the room, and Kellen Moore is a little more reserved.
Feels like the kind of thing they're saying just to put it out there for a division rival. Yeah,
and I think that's a little over. Look, Kellen Moore. Yeah, I'll say this: Kellen Moore, at least in my interaction, and I don't know Kellen Moore as much as I would like to. He's not the most like charismatic personality, at least publicly. But the thing I'll say about Kellen Moore is Kellen Moore played 6 years in the NFL, right? Or 8 years, 6 or 8 years in the NFL. He was one of the best college quarterbacks of the last 25 years. Like Kellen Moore spent his life in locker rooms. His dad was a coach. He played with Calvin Johnson. He played with Des Bryant. He's been like Kellen Moore's not like a stranger to being around NFL players. So I think that's true. That would be significantly overstated. Kellen Moore knows his way around a locker room for sure.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Also, like his press conferences are not charismatic, but he could be different in front of a team. Seems like he's doing that on purpose.
I mean, that I would hope.
Yeah.
And that's all the like I remember talking, I should say 4 years ago today was Sirianni's opening press conference did not go well. But I remember talking to people after that, and they're like, you should see Sirianni like in front of a meeting room, and he's not like that at all. And we've seen clips of
standing on a stage with an empty in front of an empty Zoom camera.
Yeah. He sees Bo's door in the back, and he's wondering, what's that trapezoid door? Where's that going?
On yesterday's Zoom press conference with Nick Sirianni, now on
I noticed
on the show, on the kickoff show and on Anthony's show, the last 2 times I was on Zoom, I had the Hard Rock background, right in front of the Hard Rock, and I forgot that I had that. And so I signed on to the Nick Sirianni Zoom yesterday, and I hit the video button, and I'm in front of the Hard Rock. It's very funny. Then I was able to change it before it was my turn to ask the question.
I would have liked if he noticed it. He had said something.
I mean, if it had been my turn, I wouldn't have turned it off. But because I was still in the queue, I figured, I'm not trying to make a joke out of the thing.
That was a very 2020 thing, like commenting on on the backdrops. Yeah.
What was happening in 2020?
We were remote that year. All the press conferences were over Zoom. So
Why?
Because of COVID.
Oh, that's right.
Is there a joke there that I'm not familiar with?
Oh no, I just forgot.
Oh, okay. Am I missing something?
I don't know. I don't know what he's talking about either.
Story
Impossible to say. Let's take a quick break, and then we're going to talk our favorite storylines of the week and a half ahead. HelloFresh, our friends at HelloFresh, the best place, America's #1 meal kit. You've heard me say it once, you've heard me say it 1,000 times. When you are meal planning, you want to get 3 things. You want to check 3 boxes. You want something that's fast, you want something that tastes good, and you want something that is good for you. Usually you got to settle for 2 out of 3, maybe 1 out of 3. With HelloFresh, it's your best bet for getting all 3 because you don't have to worry about the decision fatigue of having to figure out dinner. No, you get this stuff delivered right to you, high quality ingredients, easy to make, delicious. Their lineup of prep and bake meals come together with minimal mess and only 5 minutes of prep, so you don't have to do any cooking. Your oven does it for you. HelloFresh's 15-minute meals are done in just 3 simple steps, so you can eat better this year without all the hassle. Save valuable time with fewer trips to the grocery store. Thanks to HelloFresh Market, there's over 100 add-on items you can add to your weekly box, like quick breakfasts, packable snacks, beverages, and more. Get up to 10 free meals and a free high-protein item for life at HelloFresh.com/Eagles10FM. One item per box with an active subscription. Free meals are applied at discount on first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. That's up to 10 free HelloFresh meals. Just go to HelloFresh.com/Eagles10FM. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit.
And now let's talk about TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Did all of that holiday shopping leave you with a credit card balance that is weighing you down? That's true. Think about this. What if you could pay it off faster and with zero interest until 2026? It's true, because TrueMark Financial is offering zero interest on balance transfers for 12 months, so all of your payments can go toward reducing your balance, not just covering the interest. Here's the play. You transfer your existing balance from another institution to a TrueMark Financial Visa credit card and take advantage of this amazing offer. But it's not going to be around all year. You have to hurry and apply by February 28th, 2025. And whether you're interested in earning rewards, cash back, or simply prefer a lower rate for everyday purchases, with TrueMark Financial, you can choose the credit card that best fits your financial needs. So go on and visit TrueMark.com/compare for full details and to apply today. TrueMark Financial, a federally insured by NCUA equal opportunity lender. Terms and conditions apply. All loans are subject to approval. 3% balance transfer fee applies, and standard rates apply after the promotional rate.
All right, let's talk favorite storylines of this superb owl. Zach, you want to kick us off?
There's so many that I like.
You don't want to give away your writing plan, but
yeah, no, I will. I'm talking about like the big picture storylines here.
When you go writing, just because the Super Bowl is probably like the most covered event in the world, do you go big picture, or do you try and find a unique angle that maybe some aren't thinking of?
Yeah, I'm taking what is. So I appreciate that question. I'm taking what I view as big stories, and I want to write it better than anyone else can, or offer a perspective that other people can't. So, like something on Laurie, something on Roseman, something on whether it's on Hurts or Sirianni, but you want to find an angle or offer perspective that the people who are there just that week aren't doing. And I'm less actually. I probably focus more on the people who I don't write about throughout the season, like a Laurie or a Roseman, or if there's a behind the scenes story. But I in the past I've saved like Darius Slay banana pudding story, or Lane Johnson's training story, or a story on the Eagles situational meetings, things like that. I like doing those during Super Bowl week because I don't want to say like you're flexing, but like the people who are just there that week don't have the background for that story. So I kind of like I'm pulling those out. But as far as like the big Super Bowl storyline, I think Saquon is going to be like the star of the Super Bowl. I heard Kyle Brandt saying he's not into the Saquon birthday story as much. Kyle and I have the same view on birthdays. I'm not a big birthday guy, but it is there is cool symmetry. I just think that Saquon Barkley is his Q rating is going to
Saquon birthday. That's what they should call him.
Saquon's Q rating is going to go through the roof with the Super Bowl. I think he has a certain charisma, a likability factor. The way he's played this year, he hasn't been on this type of stage. So I think that the Super Bowl storyline, the big Super Bowl storyline, is a worthy one. Is going to be like Saquon Barkley on the big stage, being a face of the NFL.
I feel like if they win the Super Bowl, it will be considered the greatest running back season of all time when you combine individual accolades and the stats and the numbers he put up, but also he did it for a Super Bowl winner as well.
I feel like it should be considered that already.
I know, but I think it will undoubtedly.
It'll just be accepted.
I agree with that.
Okay. What do you got?
So I have a couple big picture ones, and I think like the Eagles' legacy as, let's call it, dynasty dethroners, basically, where, okay, they don't do it the same way as the Patriots and the Chiefs had with, the quarterback coach infrastructure that just seems to churn out wins every year. The Eagles have to do it differently. They change the quarterback in and out. They change the coach in and out. But if they win, they go up against these dynasties and they win half of them. And they are like worthy adversaries. And I think a team that has been very relevant for a long time, I think some of this comes back to Daniz and the stats he was tweeting out. Like, Eagles have made more Super Bowls than anybody in the NFC over the past 20 years. Yeah. And all the NFC championship games they have hosted and played in as well. If they win this Super Bowl, I think there are people whose legacies take like a huge jump, I would say, with a win. But I would also just say the team, like, they are going to be remembered as a team that was like just a huge part of the NFL story over this past decade.
Who do you think is the one whose legacy grows the most?
So I have two people. One, I would say probably less so, is that I think Lane Johnson is already in the Hall of Fame, but like two-time Super Bowl champion, like he's so in the Hall of Fame.
That's a good one.
And then Howie Roseman is the other one too.
I think Howie's the big one. I think I think Howie becomes a Hall of Famer.
Becomes a Hall of Famer. I was looking at the list of general managers who made the Hall of Fame. Like Ron Wolf is in. I feel like if Ron Wolf is in, Howie Roseman with 2 Super Bowls.
And listen, I do think that the 2 Super Bowls with like 2 different rosters, 2 different quarterbacks, 2 completely different team building executions.
Yeah.
It's just not the way these things happen.
Yeah.
I recall 2 years ago, Andrew Berry saying that he thinks Howie Roseman is the best general manager in sports. And you hear that and you're like, it might be a stretch. But I think you'll hear that conversation if the Eagles win the Super Bowl, because this is generally viewed, and like Brett Veach has done an outstanding job. That's generally viewed as Mahomes and Andy Reid, right? Even though he's done a terrific job. I actually think here in Philly, it's viewed as like Howie Roseman built this.
Yeah, I think in Philadelphia, Sirianni is the Veach.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And like Howie is the Mahomes, as people
exactly
probably frame
it's a good
it. Right?
comp.
I think the roster itself is the Mahomes.
But Howie put the roster together.
Exactly. Yeah. For me, you talk about the different quarterbacks. I think you got to start.
Does that mean Jalen is the Andy?
You don't have the full parallel there. Yeah.
It doesn't fully work.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Jalen is the Andy. I think the Andy is, you talk about the way that this 2024 team is different than the 2022 team. Saquon, yes. The defense, yes. But at quarterback, that team didn't have Tanner McKee.
You really want Tanner McKee. Okay.
I think if Tanner McKee can lead a come from behind touchdown pass to EJ Jenkins to really make this thing happen, that's to me that's the storyline that I think America wants to see.
Okay. I know you're going there with this exercise, but
what's my favorite storyline? That would be pretty cool.
Okay, yeah. How do you think Tanner McKee's gonna go over at media night? Popular?
Well,
or throughout the week?
I think he's gonna be happy that the word on the street is respect Mormons.
True, fair. Okay.
So
I mean,
he's gonna be flying high knowing that.
Yeah. Do you think Tanner McKee's gonna look? Tanner McKee did a press conference in Sao Paulo this year, right? It was Saquon Barkley, Jake Elliott, and Tanner McKee were up there. Tanner McKee's been in these, but I mean, there might be Brazilian media that is eager to speak to Tanner McKee.
There you go. We'll go back this way now.
Yeah.
I do just the like the football nerdery. And the schematic matchup to me is very interesting. I think if Vic Fangio is not the best defensive coordinator in football, then Spags is.
Sure.
And I think he's going to throw a ton of stuff at Jalen Hurts that I don't know if they're going to be ready for, given the way that they have protected lately. But I think that the Eagles might be able to just run the ball and control the game that way. And then like if anybody's going to stop Mahomes, just thinking of the ghosts and demons of 2022, and man, like that defense didn't put up a fight. It's like it really is like we get to just experience the what if. Like, oh, what if they had a real defense for that game? Let's find out.
Yeah. If you want to look smart at your Super Bowl parties this year, or you want to look like you really know what's going on
wear
the team,
glasses.
The term you should use is sim pressure. I think that's what all the film heads are going to be talking about. How's Jalen going to handle the sim pressure? And that, of course, means simulated pressure. And it's just
like that you didn't explain what it meant. Just what sim was short for.
It's
Sim pressure, noun, simulated pressure.
it is a form.
Sim pressure, of course, we all know means simulated pressure.
It is a form of blitzing that I think you will. If
It's like you're reading from like football Wikipedia.
well, the AI overview is
He's reading like the Google AI right
is a
now.
football defensive scheme that
this
involves
is
rushing
pathetic.
4 defenders while making it look
This
like
is
they're
pathetic.
rushing more. But no, if you think back to the Eagles Chiefs,
He closes the laptop.
if you think back,
Now that he knows, he can sound smart by reading the AI description of sim pressure.
I was trying to put it on layman terms. Okay, the Eagles. So sim pressure will be you have 4 guys rushing, but it's not necessarily the 4 players rushing who you think at the snap it's going to be. Is that a fair
Yes,
characterization?
we've talked about it for several months.
Precisely, but Bo, we have to do the show. I look at our viewership every single day. We have more viewers today than we had 2 months ago. In theory, there's people who did not in practice. There's people watching now who did not watch that show 2 months ago. Therefore, they might not know what sim pressure is.
You're calling them simp.
No,
pressure
I am
people.
not. I'm trying. So if you're at your Super Bowl party and you're like, well, when the Eagles played the Chiefs last year, they won, but Sirianni really struggled with. I'm sorry, Jalen really struggled with the sim pressure that Spags was throwing at him. And you say that, at your Super Bowl party, and they're gonna be, oh my gosh.
I like the idea. I like, hey, like, do you want any of these nachos or anything? And the person just freezes like, sim pressure.
No, it's like you.
What was your favorite commercial when Jalen struggled against the sim pressure?
Back when
in 2022, Jalen Hurts struggled.
I'll tell you what, I'll give you a little behind the scenes. For 7 years, I did Daily News Live, okay, or it was then Philly Sports Talk Live, and you'd have to be on for every segment. And I was on for flyer segments, and I don't know hockey as well as I know the other sports, but I'm in such fear of being unprepared, right? So I would have like one point that I would like. I want to make sure I reiterate this point. I was crazy. I remember purchasing the NHL video game and spending like a weekend just like studying every roster on there and like simulating things, so I knew what the season would be like. But I would make one point every hockey show that really try to drive home that like, all right, I know what I'm talking about
Do
here.
you remember any of them?
Sim pressure.
No, I mean, you could. There was a lot about power plays and different like
Face-offs.
neutral zone and
Sure.
that
No,
Short-handed.
I like that. You just throw like terms and
Terms,
sense or
yeah.
whatever to make it seem.
Yeah.
Honestly, it probably worked. Yeah. I would do the
Plus
same.
minuses. Yeah.
I would do the same exact thing.
By the way, I would imagine that most of the people watching this show want no part of like a normie Super Bowl party for a game that their team is in, right?
I feel like a lot of the sickos are like locked in a room by themselves,
Yeah.
just alone with their thoughts.
Right?
Could be
Like,
wrong.
You don't want to be with the people who are like watching the commercials more than the game.
Yeah.
This is the Super Bowl. The Eagles are playing for a
They
title.
all have significant, or not they all. I mean, some of them have significant others, and some of them have children. And,
Shots fired at the single people from Zach.
not shots fired. If you have significant others,
Or
that
insignificant others.
sometimes you just have to go with what she or he plans. So, I know that too well. So
Okay. All right. Back to you, Rich.
Yep.
The Vic Fangio one is a good one because I think
Vic, of course, short for Victor.
Yes.
not always, but
It's true.
yeah.
I believe it is.
So I think Vic Fangio, the only Super Bowl he coordinated in was in New Orleans as well, right? Wasn't there a story that he was kind of walking around the
Yeah.
French Quarter? He was like,
Yeah.
looking for some po' boys after
with the 49ers.
yeah.
Jeff McClain wrote a good piece on this, and he started his NFL coaching career with the Saints. So New Orleans has like a place in his heart.
I'll just go with
It's
the
Victor Mick Fangio. That's right.
That's right.
Vic Mick.
That is right. I will say, I mean, this will be one of the weirder stories, but if Jalen just has a great game, he might be one of the hardest quarterback. He's already is one of the hardest quarterbacks to talk about, like in the league. But if he just has an amazing Super Bowl after having an amazing Super Bowl last time, and an amazing NFC Championship game this time, like, you know, maybe he's not a playoff riser, but he is a like finals riser. I don't know. It would be something if he had a performance that was in the same ballpark as both the game he played last week and the game he played 2 years ago.
It's a really good one. And you talk about the upside for people's legacies. It might even be higher than Howie's. Like if he has a great game and outduels Mahomes, like he sort of did 2 years ago. Yeah, I mean, all the other stuff doesn't really matter.
I feel like if we, and especially outside of Philadelphia where people don't care about the day-to-day as much, like I think people will remember him walking off the field after playing that great game 2 years ago. You know, all the great quotes he gave afterwards,
the lock screen.
Like we'll be back, the lock screen, all
you live or
those
you
things.
learn. Yep.
And then if he comes back and outduels Mahomes 2 years later, I think that would make for an amazing story.
Agreed. Well said. So when I pitched this, I was actually thinking of like what I think is like a valid big story and what I think is like storylines I don't like as much. So I'll give the storyline I don't like as much for this one because I think it's played out is Andy Reid against the Eagles. I think it's like there's a been there, done that component. Already. That was 2 years ago. I think that was more relevant. It's also it's at a point now where he's more known for being the Chiefs coach than the Eagles coach. I also think, and we discussed this 2 years ago, not on this show, on a previous show, that I can't speak for Eagles fans, but I think Philly fans have kind of gotten over Andy after winning the Super Bowl in 2017. I think that took away some of the sting. It's like if you broke up with your girlfriend and you got remarried, or I'm sorry, not remarried. You got married. Like you're not thinking about the ex anymore, right? You've moved on with your life. No. Yeah,
No,
I mean,
I think
tell
that's
us
right.
more.
I think that's right. Yeah.
No, I think that's It's that if you broke up with your girlfriend and then she goes on and she marries somebody else and you're sitting there,
she wins 3 Super Bowls,
and you're sitting there single, and every time you're on like Instagram or Facebook, you're probably thinking
on TV,
like,
he's talking about bundle roosters.
yeah, you like haven't gotten over it. But then if you meet someone and you marry her, then it's like you're happy for your ex at that point, right? So
very interesting data
I think
collect for the Zach Berman scholars among us.
I think that story has been played out, but I bring this up because I was on I was on an Alabama radio show this morning, and they asked me about Andy Reid facing the Eagles and how Philly fans feel about this, and I just think it's like I think Philly fans have moved on. Correct me in the chat if I'm wrong,
did you
please
tell
leave
them?
comments.
Did you tell the Alabama radio station about the girlfriends?
No, I didn't use that analogy. Probably shouldn't have used it on this show, but I think it's a fair analogy.
All right.
Yeah.
Do we have another super chat here? Oh, no, we already got that one. Oh, no, we did. And need to get Abdul Carter on the pod for Super Bowl week.
This is a great story because this guy is going to be a top 5 pick in the draft.
Maybe number 1.
And he is using the last 2 months of his Eagles fandom.
Sure.
Like he is a sicko, man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's awesome.
He is, LaSalle College High School, as as Jamie would tell us. An incredible player, fun to watch, and big time Philly personality. And I would love to have him on the show. Actually, I mean, we're gonna have Fran Duffy down there. Fran's the preeminent draft expert as far as I'm concerned. I would love to get him to sit down with Abdul Carter at the Super Bowl.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching on Fast. For those of you doing that, we've got a couple more minutes to finish up this bad boy on allphly.com. Check it out there. All right, you want to go? Lightning round, one more round.
Sure.
Over to you.
Okay, so a storyline that I think we can all we reference this, but I think Brandon Graham returning would be
for sure
just like an awesome story. Brandon is such a character, and it's just that's a story that's like your Good Morning America story, right? I always think like what's the NFL Network story, what's the ESPN story, what's the Good Morning America story, right?
You always think that?
Yeah, I try to think that. Yeah. Yeah, like who are you trying to appeal to here? And Good Morning America, you're appealing to like the non-football fans. And how cool of a story is that you have this guy who could be playing his last game and he comes back from injury just to play in that. I think that's a Good Morning America story.
I think BG is going to be like the belle of the ball at media day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well earned. Too.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's playing. A lot of good BG quotes from New Orleans. This is I kind of ran out of ideas, but Juju Smith-Schuster back against the Eagles.
Well, the real question is, will they activate James Bradberry?
They won't activate him, but he'll be there. He'll be there for media day.
Well, it would be a nice scene if like
Quinyon just beat the crap out of Juju.
If Quinyon Mitchell like absolutely owns him on an interception or something like that, and maybe Bradberry talks a little trash from the sidelines.
That's a good one.
Does he even stand on the sidelines?
Now this is not.
I don't even know.
Probably. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you think he knows the names of the rest of the guys on the team?
Yeah, James has been around. Actually,
he has been around. Okay, good.
Yeah. James was in the meeting on Tuesday actually about the logistics.
You saw a video of it?
Yeah, I saw.
Or you were there?
I wish I was there.
Like hiding under the seats?
I wish I was there. I was probably on a phone call that I was not. But yeah, no, I would love to be there. I like covering the team. That's what I like covering the team. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is not what I'm going to draft, but to your point on the media day stuff, I'll tell you who is not going to have a fun time.
Oh,
on Monday
I know
night.
where you're going here.
I mean, Carson Wentz is going to be in tough shape on Monday night. He's going to be just surrounded by Eagles reporters. That's going to be brutal. And like
Carson's going to see me and roll his eyes. See you.
No, I think that's his agent who's going to remember yelling at you.
Yes.
No, but I mean, not only does he have to go up against the Eagles, but it's like the guy who replaced him is in the Super Bowl for the second time. That's a tough scene for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, like is God gonna smite Harrison Butker in the middle of the game? I think that would be cool. That's an interesting storyline as far as I'm concerned. Also, the matchup of can they block Jalen Carter? And nobody's been able to block him like technique wise for a while. Is it possible that Mike Caliendo can be successful by just doing cool impressions and making Jalen laugh in the middle of plays?
Yeah, he's the weak spot on that Chiefs offensive line. If you want to impress your friends at the Super Bowl party, you say, "Man, they should feast on Caliendo." Yeah, say that.
Now here's a guy who's about to run over me. Super chat from DFOP. Grace is back again. Oh, interesting storyline. Brittany Mahomes versus Bree Burrows.
Bree is Jalen's fiance.
Yes. Got it.
I mean,
who you got? Who you taking?
Who
you taking?
I'll stay away from that. I'd rather not talk about a player's significant other unless that.
But I mean, if you're doing the tail of the tape, which team gets the edge here?
It'd be funny if the Alabama radio show asked him that. Who you got?
I'm staying away from that one. Yeah.
Offensive line, coaching.
I am staying far away from that one.
Good. Yeah. Smart. Okay.
All right.
But the significant other that I think people care about is Taylor Swift. That's a big, like my daughter's excited. She's excited for me potentially seeing Taylor Swift at the Super Bowl. She said, if you see her, tell her that I'm a big fan. And I said, okay. I see you. Hey, Taylor. Sloan says hello.
You should do that. Why wouldn't you do that?
Yeah. I'm sure she's never heard something like that before. But yeah. Sloan thinks like
Taylor.
Taylor.
You get to tell Sloan that you told her. That'd be great.
Yeah, Sloan thinks Taylor Swift and I are going to be like hanging out at the Super Bowl. So
who's to say?
That's true. Who's to say? Yeah. So,
you never know.
Yeah, I mean, I was at the New York Super Bowl. I was on the elevator with, I should know this.
Bruno
Mars. Thank you. Bruno Mars. Yeah.
Julie goes, oh.
Yeah. I did not know who he was. But I knew that he was going to he was going to a press conference. I think he sang the halftime show. Yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah. So I was on the elevator with Bruno Mars. He had a lot of people around him.
Sick, dude. What are you looking up here?
Isn't Taylor Swift's dad and like
big
a
Eagles
fan? Former Eagles fan?
Scott, right?
Yeah. Well, maybe he knows you. Maybe that's your end.
Oh, there you go. Maybe you bought your book.
You know what I would say if I saw Taylor Swift? I'm a big Ross Tucker fan.
Very good.
Or Chad Henne.
Or her brother DeAndre.
I don't get it.
So when Taylor Swift first came into the football LIX guy, they said, do you know Taylor Swift? I said, yes, she went to Ross Tucker's high school. And Bo thought that was like the funniest thing that he's ever heard.
I think it's pretty funny too.
That was a genuine thing. Shout out to Ross Tucker.
Yeah. All right.
All right. I feel like we hit most of them.
Good stuff, everybody. Bang up stuff. Oh, another super chat under the wire. John says, we need the Carson's agent yelling at ZB story, please. All right. We got a couple minutes.
Am I allowed to share? I mean,
He didn't say off the record, did he?
here.
Let's pass this pass.
It was not the direct agent; it was a representative. And I'll put it this way: I went out to North Dakota to do a story on Carson.
As you do, a normal
as I
thing to do for the guy who was just drafted number 2 overall.
The Philadelphia Inquirer is sending me to North Dakota, putting up a lot of money to send me. I had to book the flight last minute to go out there. I'm going to be a reporter, and I didn't do anything illegal. I knocked on doors.
You have told the people you went to his favorite restaurant. You asked where he sat.
Okay,
you sniffed the seat. All that
knocked
stuff.
on doors, gave business cards, but there were people who Carson had been drafted. He already did all the pre-draft stuff. I think he just wanted some people to be left alone, and to me, it's like. Yeah. That's fine. Grown adults.
Yeah, you weren't.
Yeah, grown adults should have the chance to speak for themselves, right? And so, knock on the door, polite, if you're interested in talking. And I mean, you would think that I was like hiding under the table in the meeting room, I didn't. Yeah, so
you're doing your job,
but that comes with the job, and I've been yelled at many times, so. Part of the job.
Yeah, that's no fun.
It's no fun, but
probably say, well, okay. Aaron, since we're talking coordinators, I can't wait for JG to claim he pulled the strings. I guess because he's the one who told Nick to stop calling plays.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe he gets a ring.
It would be funny if Kellen Moore had a very fiery interview around training camp. About how how Sirianni stinks, and
or in his car on the way to the airport this time around.
Oh, there, family show.
I didn't say it.
You said the F word there.
I didn't say it. I sort of guttural.
I can't even imagine Kellen Moore doing that. By the way, it would be one of the funniest things. It'd be the funniest thing since Tailgate Ted's Hard Rock speech the other night. I think.
So good. I feel like I had one other thing, but we get to talk again tomorrow. So hopefully it'll come to me then. Thank you, Handsome Rich. Thank you, Julia. Thank you for all of you sickos watching live. We'll be back again tomorrow, 2:00. We got an extra show this week as well. Trying to figure that out. Might be Thursday night. Might be Friday morning. Who's to say? So for all of us here at PHLY, we thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We will talk to you tomorrow. The Eagles are in the Super Bowl, and as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.